I'm in. I mean, obviously, I don't know that I can contribute. I'm probably not on their level. You know what I mean? So, but I cannot live through another 4 years. I will tell you that up front. So I will do whatever it takes,
I don't
short
think
of
any of
breaking
us,
the law, obviously.
right, of course. I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, it's possible.
No, I'm almost in the it's probable if we don't do something drastic at this moment. I'm like, that's how terrified I am. Just heard on the news the other day. Now, I hate polls because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you've
The
asked
Siena
10
poll,
people.
well,
Yeah,
that Siena poll that came out that the New York Times put on the front, yeah, last
yeah.
week.
That said, yeah. But Bush. Oh my God, what just happened to me? I was like, I'm channeling very bad negative memories. Um, I can't even say the word. The T word is outpolling Biden. And you know what? Yeah, I think Biden's too old. I agree. But I'm still voting for him because I'm not voting for my alternative at this moment. I don't
Same,
care if he dies in office.
same.
Actually,
Then we got Kamala, great.
yeah, all right. I don't want him to die. Don't misunderstand
Oh,
me. It's not
I
what I'm
totally,
saying.
I know, I know, no, I know.
But I'm just like, yeah, he is too old. Yeah. Okay. Next. Because I can't do four more. I can't do 4 years of the T word. Looking back, I just heard today actually the greatest quote I've heard in a long time. And sometimes people will say the same thing over and over and over and over again. And sometimes it just has to hit you at the right window in order
Hmm.
for it to make sense. Well, I was watching pregame, Steelers won today, by the way. Oh, but I was watching pregame and they were at the Air Force Base in Colorado. And one of the girls on the Air Force, she was talking and she said, "Don't look back. You're not going in that direction." And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, that's it." So now I'm going to look back at when you look back at those 4 years, when I look back at who I was and what I accomplished, those 4 years are even more disappointing to me than just having the T word in charge, because I got swept up in that cesspool and it wasn't a good place, just not a good place. And I just don't want to do it again.
What do you mean by the cesspool? Like the cesspool of what?
I'm just okay, I'm going to say we may have to cut this out. This may have to go into our Patreon because I'm about to make a blanket statement that I don't love doing. But the character of the people that are devoted to Trump, right? That are Trump devotees is ugly
Oh yeah,
and
100,
not acceptable to me.
100%.
And I have such a low tolerance for that character and those values. But then I found myself like down in that mud with them because I just had such disdain for it. And I didn't accomplish anything in those 4 years. I did not, I mean, build up or shut up didn't start in those 4 years. Shower talks didn't start in those 4 years. I was not moving forward in those 4 years. My cat is trying to get on my computer. So it was an even bigger waste of time for me than just having a bad fake president, right? And I don't want that to happen again. Now, the upside of my situation, and this is true of a lot of people, is once I am aware of my shortcomings, I can work on fixing them. I don't ignore when I've noticed I'm a fuck up, right? Like I'm like, all right, let's make this happen. So
Yeah.
knowing what I know now, I I don't want to get dragged down, but I worry because oh my God, he generates so much hate and disdain and dislike for for normal average people, right? Just living, breathing human beings. So much so it was interesting. I am friends with someone. So, I have two lives, right? I have my life before I got divorced, and then I have my life after I got divorced. And the
Mhm.
person I was before I got divorced, I appreciate. I appreciate that person. That person gave me the foundation
For who you
for
are.
the new me, right? Yeah. So I don't feel that was wasted time. I don't feel it was horrible. I do regret a lot of the narrow-mindedness, of those times, and that all the things that I probably could have accomplished during that time if I wasn't so rooted in religious zealousness.
Mm.
And but it did also make me who I am today. So there is that balance, but I am friends with a lot of people from those church religious days on Facebook. And I like a lot of them, right? They're people. Again, if my philosophy is living, breathing people are living, breathing people, then I have to accept the religious zealots along with the satanic worshipers, right? I mean, that's what I feel I am called to do. So I am friends with a lot of them. And this was, I'm going to say it was a year ago. One of them posted on her Facebook about keeping the immigrants out of the United States. Yeah. And I left. I did not unfriend her, but I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Like a lot, mostly because I found a bunch of people on Instagram that are like right in that religious group that I'm in, that is, God is not a God of rules, and if you're not following the rules, he doesn't fucking hate you, right? He's like, okay, well, let's work together. That's kind of what I feel. But uh, calling people immigrants and getting mad that they're entering your country, that's against the rules. That's
Yeah.
against God's rules. I'm just like, what? Why is that okay? Why is it okay to hate that person and want them to stay out of your country and not help them, but it's not okay to have an abortion? I mean, I don't.
But they're able to
Where's the difference?
compartmentalize.
There
Like,
is no difference. Mm-mm.
well, because and this is obviously my opinion, I feel like that's where it becomes very dangerous when we other people.
Yes.
So if they see immigrants as the others and not being a part of America, right? I can't remember which politician said it. I think it was McConnell. And he said something at an event in the last 2 years where he said Blacks or African Americans and Americans, basically insinuating that Americans are white,
White.
right?
Oh, what
And
an
like
idiot.
I even went to an event Thursday night, and I won't mention who he is, but a
Why not?
because I don't want to. I don't want to
Okay.
out him, so to speak. And he was awesome, actually. I really enjoyed hearing him speak, and I really admired him in a lot of ways. And he was wonderful, but he said one thing that made me cringe. And he kept referring to minorities and referencing African Americans and Asian Americans, but then he made it a point to say, and poor whites, right?
Ah, okay.
So, and it's minute, but
I
it's
get it.
really interesting that it's so embedded in us. Like, I don't think he meant anything bad by it, right?
No.
And this is an older gentleman, and I'm sure even younger folks may do it, but it's a belief that the majority of whites have money, and then there's poor whites. Like, there are two different groups, yet minorities were all lumped in the same group. There's never like, oh, the poor minorities.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
because
that
all minorities are poor. Didn't you know that? I mean, you're all second class citizens.
second class
You're
citizens.
barely human, apparently, right? And that's why it's even like, I don't mind. Like, I am going to admit it. This is probably an area where you and I differ. So your friend that says we always agree will be excited that we differ on this. But I don't mind calling people Spaniards from Spain, or Italians from Italy, or Mexicans from Mexico. I don't, but that doesn't mean I think they're a certain type of person. They are a human being. And as I have said a billion times, and I will continue to say, hopefully till the day I die, people are people. We're all the same. We're made up of the same shit.
Sure.
Now, it looks a little different. Sometimes it's not put in the right place, right? I mean, but we're still people. We still have hearts and lungs, and we breathe, and so we're not different. It's okay that you're from Mexico. It's okay. I have no ill will about that, right? It's okay. It's okay that I'm from America. I might be an American. You might be an Italian. Of course, I'm picking out the Italians because I'm an Italian, but but you're still human and therefore equal across the board, regardless of where you're from. So I'm like, but and that includes minority status as well. And let me rephrase that because that's not the word I was looking for. That includes economic status. If you want to say a minority is someone that is um, a smaller number of people than the main group. Okay.
So maybe to be fair, poor whites are a minority compared
Yes.
to the majority of
Agreed.
white.
That's what I'm going to say. So let's not misuse the word minority because minority doesn't mean race, right? To me, it means number, quantity, not anything else. So in a college, minority could be white boys. It could be, right? Now, when we're talking about representation of laws, minority does have a very specific definition, if I'm not mistaken. And that's good. I think that should be. But I think it's hard when you just start throwing around words like minority and you don't really know what you're talking about. Not you, I mean people
I
in
know.
general. Yeah. And I'm like, if you want minority to represent race, then you need to make that really clear, right? Because otherwise I'm thinking you don't know what you're talking about. So, but yeah, I think I think there's actually a shit ton of poor white people. I mean, technically, I
Well, there
actually,
are people on welfare,
yeah,
but that's
exactly.
partly because there are more white people in the United States.
Yes. As of this moment, is there?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I do hope this is not an inappropriate question, but I've apparently been saying stupid things all day today. Um, you and I have had this discussion before about what you consider yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say there are more white people, is that self-identifying white people or is that letter of the law?
This is based on them checking the box on the census,
Okay.
self-identifying.
Okay. Just curious because, it makes a difference. And here's what, like, part of me thinks it makes a difference is because and this again comes down to, and I feel bad because I do have friends, which does seem a little crazy, that are Trump, not people that voted for Trump, but Trump supporters. And in my mind, there is a slight difference to those two types of people.
No, there are.
And so I worry about the people that you see like interviewed at Trump rallies that believe all the crazy, like 100% of the crazy, like John F. Kennedy isn't dead, or just really out there crazy.
But I
And
actually, just
those
speaking of
people frighten me.
minorities, I think they're the minority. Like
Yeah.
even today, I was listening to these pundits talk about how Trump is leading in the primaries. And even as they said it, I thought, but who were the primary voters now? I think a lot of people who voted for Trump who are not Trumpers, a lot of them, I think, have left the Republican Party and have become independents. So they are no longer going to be represented or polled
Yeah.
and asking about who I think a lot of the people who have remained in the Republican Party are Trumpers. I think they've alienated and most of the guys from the Lincoln Project, almost all of them have become Democrats, even though they don't agree 100% with Democrats. They're never Trumpers. And then I think you also have a number of people, say like Michael Steele, who is still a Republican, but has always been a never Trumper. He just doesn't want to give up on the party. And I think you still have, like in Arizona, there was an article that came out in the Arizona Republic. I think it was after the 2020 election. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like it was just after the 2020 election. They had a massive number of people changing to independent, not Democrat, but independent.
Right.
And none of them count in primary.
Which that's great and not great all at the same time.
I mean, it's better than the alternative of being a complete Trump supporter or being a Republican. And I do think it's very concerning. Hearing those polls, the Siena poll that came out was very concerning. But I still feel a lot of optimism because when it comes down to what they kept saying is Democrats don't have their voice together, Democrats, there's a lot of nitpicking about Dems in general. I mean, that's been the case for a long time. When it comes down to it, look at what just happened in Ohio. I still think to this day, and I know it just from some of the data I've seen and some of the reading I've done, is that when you literally just talk about the politic or the policies and remove the label of a Democrat and remove the label of Republican, people support Democratic policies. They support gay marriage. They support a woman's right to choose. And in healthcare, they want affordable healthcare. They don't believe people should go bankrupt for getting sick.
Yeah.
They believe in a minimum wage increase. They believe that people should be able to support their families if they're working full-time jobs. Like all of these things are things that people agree on, getting veterans their benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also still keeping America safe and supporting our military and supporting this is universal. The majority of people agree in all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So if Democrats can just stick with the message, like just messaging, right, of especially abortion.
I not only do I agree, but I'm going to even take it one step further. It's funny is even a lot of never Trumpers, is that what they're called?
The never Trumpers, they're the
Never
Republicans
that are Republicans that are never even that group of people is laying pretty low. I'm like, I'm perfectly fine with laying low, right? Not being the obnoxious asshole on the nightly news and making the vote count. That's what I'm down for that, for sure.
I mean, I don't think that they're the concern anymore. I mean, I still feel like I hear a lot from them. Steve Schmidt has not been a part of them for a long time, but I feel like you still see, I don't know. I feel like Reed Galen, I feel like is still out there quite a bit, and George Conway.
Sure, but we're about to enter an election season, like heavy election season.
Michael Steele is all over the place. I mean, he's got a show, I think. I think the problem
that is.
So Michael Steele used to be the chair of the RNC.
Oh. Well, that's why I didn't know who he was. Now I do. Thanks for that.
He was the chair of the RNC. He's a Black man. I want to say he was governor in Maryland, possibly.
Him and Ben Carson are good friends.
Yes.
Probably really good friends.
I had actually, I mean, but he was an ever Trumper. He was but he also won't leave the Republican Party. And he absolutely is like, I don't agree with Democrats on on a lot of policies, but he's like, I'm not going to let the government fail either. Like
Yeah.
I think, and I do think that there are a lot of people that recognize, I mean, he's a convicted felon.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. And the one thing I'm so tired of, and I actually said this to some friends of mine last night, and after I said it, I really kicked myself because I'm like, I said it in a different context, but one thing that when people say the two sides are alike drives me nuts because it's like they're
Yeah.
absolutely not the same.
Mm-mm.